Early Weigh-In Podcast is back. Here to preview favorite fights, favorite bets for UFC Shanghai. Super early morning fight card here for us in the U.S. Main event, high-level fight at 135, man. Number 2 ranked Umar Nurmagomedov taking on number 6 ranked Song Yadong. Before we jump into last week's results, get into this week, make sure to like, subscribe, do us a favor. Let us know in the comments your best bet for this week. As far as last week goes for me, really good night, man. 3 for 3 on my bets, clean sweep from me. Big on Judy's money line and inside the distance. She easily covered the first stabbing body kick she landed. I knew that was going to be the finishing blow just a couple seconds later. It was actually Emmers that cashed the underdog, big underdog of the night, and cashed me my under 1.5 there. And then I texted you during that Went fight because the line moved against me by like $1 in that under 1.5, and he was not fighting like he wanted to finish it under 1.5 either. So ended up finding the sub late one, cashed me 3.25 units. Nice night last week. I'll toss it over to you where, man, just keep trusting your reads. But between that shit and Jake Matthews submitting Neil Magny earlier this year, those are probably, those are some of the worst beats I can imagine, man. Let you talk about it. We'll get into this week.
Yeah, I took 2 1-unit shots on goes to decision or a fighter to win by decision at over 2-1 dog odds. Padilla wins by decision, loses in 4 minutes 59 seconds around 3. Dyer wins by decision, makes it to the 3rd round, but she just beat up Elise Reed just a little bit too much. Honestly, like you said, I feel like the reads are there. I'd probably play both of them the same. Elise almost was able to endure it just a little bit longer and get me that dub, and then that's just variance with the Padilla by decision. Even after it happened, I thought that even though he waved it off, he might not have gone unconscious until after the bell rang. Whatever. Gage Young over Stanley Dorsonville looked like an awesome bet. I mean, he stung him twice, had him wobbled twice in the first round. I think that could have looked like a really great bet if it would have finished. And even afterwards, after it went the full 3 rounds, I thought there was a world where I could still win it. But 2.5 units on Gage Young, and ultimately he's not a great UFC fighter, so probably should have held off on it. Stanley's got all of the physical advantages you could possibly want for a fighter, so maybe some potential there. But reverse sweep on the night, minus 4.5 units, I think. I just put it up. Yeah, 4.5 units. Hoping to bounce back for sure. Moving on to the main event on the Shanghai card, we have Umar Nurmagomedov taking on Song Yadong. Normally, whenever we're fighting in a different country, we like to bet the countrymen. This is not one of those instances, though. It seems like, an opportunity where they're trying to showcase Umar Nurmagomedov going into enemy territory and grabbing a win. There's a lot of things to like about Song Yadong. I think that he's good everywhere, but not great anywhere. And in a fight against Umar Nurmagomedov, I think that Umar's footwork and his elusiveness is going to be one of the bigger things that we notice, especially early in this fight. I also think that he'll have the wrestling threat he can mix in there and take down Song Yadong. Ultimately, Song is very fast, but he overcommits on his shots. And I think whenever he's pulling back, we're going to see opportunities for Umar to touch him on the feet. And on some of those overthrown shots by Song Yadong, I do think that he'll be able to time some takedowns, rack up some control time. I know earlier this week he said it's going to be a long 25 minutes for you. Doesn't sound like a card that I want to stay up or get up early for, but I do think that Umar Nurmagomedov is going to win. Going to be tough to cover minus 550 without getting a finish, but I think the opportunities will be there. It's just 135 pounds, and Song Yadong is extremely tough, so I'm not sure that it's actually going to happen. Give me Umar. I'm probably not going to find a way to play him, though.
And, there's a part of me that wants to try to find a way to play Song at this price. You're talking like under 15% in a very high level bantamweight fight where I think Song's at his peak right now, and it definitely holds the power upside, but I think Song has a lot of the finishing upside, and in the match, there's not much finishing upside in general, but I feel like Song has a lot of it with the power. He's physical, got some good counter wrestling, and not to mention, they both fought Figgy. One finishing pretty easy. One was a super lackluster performance, took him the full 15 minutes. And then Umar against Bautista as well. He's getting dropped. Like, I don't know. Umar doesn't necessarily look, I don't know. He doesn't cover minus 600 in a lot of his fights, and then you talk about it being in China as well. Yeah, there's a lot of reasons why I could see why somebody would want to bet Song at plus 440, plus 450, but you kind of already know how it ends, man. It's just one of those bets that you want to make because of the number, but 9 times out of 10, it's just a value loser. Umar's probably taking a boring decision here. Dude could be champ any night, whereas I feel Song is just like, like if Umar's A tier, I feel like Song's just a step below B tier. He's in that Mario Bautista, he's in that Corey Sandhagen, but he's not in the Marab, he's not in the Peter Yan. So I feel like there's a bit of a tier difference here, and we got 5 rounds. We got a big cage for Umar to use his kicks and his footworks, and likely find some top time here. So it's Umar by decision. I wish I could be more passionate or have a better take, but it's probably a pretty boring fight and goes a full 25. Yan Xiaonan, Denise Gomez down at strawweight. Dude, skill for skill, I don't know if the line is wide enough, honestly, at minus 145. I could just be flat out dead wrong, but I think there's a world where it's 30-27 Xiaonan. I'm not counting the finish completely off the table with the way Denise Gomes fights. I think Denise Gomes' only thing she really has going for her here is just the timing of this fight. She's 11 years younger, 26 versus 37. John Allen's had her title shot. She's been out for over a year now. But when I see what she truly struggles with and girls who are able to implement a grappling heavy control style against her, I don't really see that in Gomes. She doesn't have the jiu-jitsu of a Verna, the wrestling of a Whaley or an Esparza, like all former title challengers or, one of the best strawweights ever. So I look at a girl who's taller, longer than Gomes, a girl who I think has far better hands, far more technical striking, where Gomes is more pressure than technical ability. So I think she has the potential to just get caught coming into range. And I just don't see the real grappling path for Denise Gomez. I wouldn't be shocked if Xiaonan is the better wrestler here. Gomez, this 4-fight win streak is 40-year-olds and Elise Reed. And I mean, she's definitely at 26 going to make improvements, but she's never shown me anything that shows me she's on the level of Xiaonan, who's fought the better competition, been 5 rounds. So Gomes is a popular underdog this week, and it's a line I'm kind of monitoring because was minus 150. It's like minus 140. There's 100%. I'd love a minus 130 or something by Saturday. Yan Jianan's calling my name, man.
I've seen you lay the juice, or not even the juice. I've seen you lay money on Xiaonan plenty of times in your past, and I can't blame you, especially in this position. There is some reluctancy considering the age difference, so it's a spot that I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to get to myself, but I have to agree on all fronts. It seems like she's just a much more well-rounded MMA fighter. Denise Gomes honestly didn't look that great against Elise Reed, and I think that if Yao Xiaonan can get on her front foot a little bit, put the pressure on her, and then mix in some of those takedowns, she could certainly outclass Denise Gomes here. I think Denise Gomes in general is kind of rode on a questionable fight career and power for somebody in that small of a weight class. It's something that I don't think that she could consistently do over the course of her UFC career. And I do think that as she steps up in competition, it'll, we'll start to see some of the holes in her game really start to be exposed. Every single girl that she's fought has been the same storyline. It's always the older, kind of over-the-hill fighter. And unfortunately, Yao Yan fits that category right now. As much as I hate to say it, there is some weight that should be put on over a decade difference in age. So I think it's a pass for me. I look at a women's MMA fight and I'm trying to justify laying juice on somebody who is over the hill, like guaranteed over the hill. And I just can't find myself to get there. But I do think that if there is somebody that is going to look worlds better than the other person, it's going to be Yao Xiaonan. I just expect a close fight. or Denisi the catcher or something like that. Like you said, timing, it plays a massive part here. So pass for me. Moving on to the fight of the night for me. Pretty easy decision. I was surprised you got to pick first this week, and I was surprised that you left this one for me. Jack Jenkins versus Sean Woodson. Man, this is an absolute banger of a fight. I look back at the Sean Woodson versus Dan Ige fight. Me and you both on Dan Ige. Fight not to go to the decision as well, and we cashed that in the third round. I see a lot of that opportunity here against Jack Jenkins. Sean Woodson has always kind of been one of these fighters who I haven't had a ton of faith in. He's got one of the most unique bodies in the UFC, so it's a really hard fight style to replicate when you're in the training room, unless you're fighting much bigger fighters. But my biggest knock on Sean Woodson since he's been in the UFC is that he doesn't hit hard enough. You know, that's something that I think going up against somebody like Dan Ige or like Jack Jenkins, these are just really tough guys. You know, usually it's not them giving up on themselves. It's either a doctor stoppage or something like that. And I struggle to see how Sean Woodson is going to finish Jack Jenkins. And I look at some of the key characteristics of Jack Jenkins' game, and his leg kicks really come to mind, man. I mean, we've got maybe the longest legs in the UFC, proportional to his weight. And I just see a lot of opportunity for Jack Jenkins to finally kind of work in those leg kicks as he has in the past. Now, we haven't seen it as much here, but I do think that there will be opportunities, and he hits just as hard. The difference between him and Dan Ige is Dan Ige kind of works into fights, you know, where I think Jack Jenkins is going to come on strong and potentially fade towards the later half of the fight, which gives me a little bit of worry and why this had to be my fight of the night, because Sean Woodson is somebody who has gassed before, but if you can't finish him early and he sees that weakness, he's an opportunistic fighter, and he'll win punches by bunches and just kind of break you down. So I think Jack Jenkins can get it done. I could see Sean Woodson having the opportunity and strictly outclassing Jack, because even though Jack has had some tough losses, I still think that we haven't seen his ceiling. And it's hard for me to gauge just how good he actually is. This is a great opponent, good matchmaking. Had to be my fight of the night.
Yeah. You do you plan on dipping back into this fight for any
I
of the
do.
Okay, so I'll keep my mouth shut until the quick picks, just in case I ruin something, because there's a play I really like on that fight.
Yeah, I bet I say it next.
We'll see. You might. Yeah, you actually might.
I know I will.
Fight of the night. Andre Lima. I'm taking Namsrai Batbayar. Man, you know, I like Andre Lima. Had this guy not shit the bed last time out, the fight's probably not even made. And if it is, I think you're looking at an Andre Lima like minus 400, not minus 240. You know, Lima to me feels like the far more complete fighter of the two, one who's much more composed and calculated with his forward pressure, and the one who can mix it up here. You know, the guy's got a really intelligent ground game, submission upside here. And I know it was a horrible performance last time outside. I'm trying not to lose faith in what I think's a pretty good fighter, a really good fighter at 125, probably a top 15 fighter. On the other side is Batbayar, man, a very fun fighter, somebody who's got big power, somebody who's never seen the scorecards, got 10 finishes, 1 submission loss. And unlike Borjas, he is not going to run around the outside of the cage refusing to engage. He's going to come at Lima. He's going to bring the fight to him. So I think we got a fun fight here. And when you see his submission loss to Dembrell, that really does make me think that when Andre Lima gets these dominant positions, he's a big flyweight, man. And when he gets on top, I think he could make Namsrai Batbayar pay. I think submission's on the table for Andre Lima, and I really did consider playing him, making him my parlay piece or something. But, you know, the game plan you put together last time out, I do want to see you go out there and I just want to see you put together a good game plan, bounce back from your first career loss. Maybe then I'm more eager to play you again. But I think Andre Lima is a great prospect, a really fun flyweight. I think Namsrai Batbayar, the way this guy fights, it's must-see TV. And so that's why my fight of the night, man. You're on mute.
I love it. I'm actually going to save it for my best bet. So hold on. Hold the horses just a little bit. My underdog of the night, I'm going to be picking Alex Perez, man. That isn't yours, is it? Okay. He's taking on Sumu Darji, who I've always kind of not been a huge fan of. I think that he has exciting fights, but there are some massive holes in his game. And I know that he's, only 30 years old. So in theory, he's hitting his prime. We're talking about somebody who's fighting in his home country. But Alex Perez, in their first fight, I think that he arguably won round one. And we've got, a significant difference in odds right here. Perez, I mean, if we're doing MMA math, he's beaten Charles Johnson. Sumu Darji's lost to Charles Johnson. And then I look at some of the guys that Sumu Darji has fallen victim to, and Matt Schnell and Tim Elliott, both of those guys submission artists. And I think that Alex Perez has a really slept-on submission game where he could, get in some good positions against Sumu Darji and really show him, hey, there's levels to this game. You have to be well-rounded here. Mudarji has put together a couple of decent wins, but not necessarily against the highest level of competitions. I mean, when you're going to split decisions with Mitch Raposo, I think that there's a high likelihood that you drop the ball against Alex Perez. So I think that this is a great position. It's not one that I love, that I'm like, I'd die on the hill that Alex Perez is going to get his hand raised on Saturday. But for this price tag, which right now it's sitting at plus 186, plus one. Yeah, I mean, there's plus 180s. There's a plus 190 at a couple of spots circling around. I mean, that just seems like a must play for me. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But if I don't play it and Alex Perez wins, it'll be a no-brainer. It'll just be like a
haunch you.
Yeah, really tough one, a really hard pill to swallow. So Alex Perez has got to be the underdog for me this week.
I like it, man. Again, not crazy about an underdog, man. It's a lot of these regional cards like this. You got a lot of favorites set up. And so I'd rather find a plus money play that I think is going to hit and give that out. So I'm going to go Ray Tatsura by submission, plus 120. I think he's going to twist Borjas up like a pretzel, man. It almost feels like this is punishment for Borjas after beating Andre Lima. He's getting a much tougher fight, a much stylistically tougher fight. Borjas struggles badly with guys who want to grapple him and have a ridiculous pace. And I think that's what Ray Tatsura brings to the table from the first opening bell. This guy took a year off from his first pro loss when he lost to Josh Van, and the physique has completely changed. This dude is juiced to the gills. He's super intentional with getting the fight down to the mat, getting in dominant positions, great rear naked choke. And the last time out against, name was on my tongue, Luis Garule. Like, Luis Garule is known for his defensive grappling, and he just mowed through him, got the back, got the rear naked choke, and I see the same thing happening here. So similar to Carly Judice last week, I'm big on the Tatsura money line, and I'm probably going to get down on an inside the distance sub prop, something like that. I think this is a clear win spot for Ray to get on track.
Okay, so for my parlay piece, not a pretty one, but I really do see her getting her hand raised. It's going to be Julia Pilastri.
Yeah.
At minus 230. I know that Julia doesn't have the best game just in general, but this is another age play where I think Xingyang Zhang, she 38 years old coming into this fight. She looked absolutely awful. Isn't she 38 years old coming into this fight? Yeah. Looked absolutely awful against Angela Hill on her last time out. And she's fighting once a year at this age. This is just a bad matchup. And I'm a little bit worried because Julia Pilastri does kind of give I wish I could really put Jingnan the style that she is craving, where it's just like a car crash fighter in the middle. But I also think that Julia's game is just a little bit more rounded out. She's hitting her strides at this point in her career, being only 28 years old. And I think that the minus 200 price tag is actually favorable. I think that she should probably be closer to minus 300, 350, but because of some of the shortcomings of her career up until this point, we're getting a favorable price tag. So it's not my favorite laying juice on a somewhat low level women's fight, but I just think that this is a spot where I could not see Julia Pilastri not getting her hand raised on Saturday. So that's my parlay piece of the night.
Yeah, Angela Hill was my dog of the night when she fought Chinese girl last time out, and old girl's bad, dude. She's bad. And coming from one FC as well, like, they don't go by rounds there. They judge like the whole fight. And so she's not good at winning rounds. She wants to land a big shot and like overall win the fight. And I don't know, man. I like Pilastre a lot too. Parlay piece for me, I'm taking Kaya Sakura and Arichi Lang under 2.5, minus 230. I do think it probably favors one side to get the finish, but I do like having both sides here in what I think is a firefight, a high-paced fight. Asakura, I like this guy at 135. That's where he was fighting at Risen a whole lot as well. He's got a big speed advantage and just a big advantage on the feet in general. This guy's got 14 TKOs. And both of these guys have been finished 5 times each, combined 10 times. Arichi Lang's 9 TKOs. I think he's got the power to hurt Kai, but realistically, man, I think Kai Asakura is going to come out here and box up Arichi Lang and knock him out cold probably in the first round. I just think the speed and striking difference here is on another level, and Arichi Lang's way too hittable and been KO'd by far less shots before. So I like an Asakura finish. I like the under 2.5 for my parlay piece.
Love it. My best bet of the night is going to be plus 100. Jack Jenkins decision or finish only.
There you go.
Jack Jenkins, as I mentioned or kind of alluded to earlier in the podcast, he's a really tough dude. He's gotten submitted a couple of times before, but I don't think that this is the fight that Sean Woodson gets his first UFC submission. And the only time that Jack Jenkins has lost outside of submission is when he broke his arm. This dude doesn't give up on himself, you know? Right. Sean Woodson doesn't hit hard enough to actually stop him. And I think the most telling part of this fight is going to be whether or not Jack can get those kicks going. And if he does, great. I think that cashes with ease, and we're getting a plus money ticket on it. If it doesn't, I think that this is a clear-cut Sean Woodson decision win right here. Yeah. Plus money, best bet of the night, by a long shot, Jack Jenkins, finish only. I'm assuming that that's what you knew I was about to say.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't ruin it, because that's play of the card right there, man. I think that's an excellent look. I'm going to go with my straight bet. I got 2 units on Ming Ding, minus 145. The line's still pretty similar. I think you get minus 140, minus 142. I wish I would have got closer to the pick 'em at the opener, but I still think he's good to about 65% here. I mean, just strictly intangibles alone. I mean, you're looking at a guy in Ming Ding who's got, no joke, like 5 times the experience. He fought the way better competition, doesn't have to travel 20-plus hours to get here. He's got his UFC debut under his belt. And then when I watched tape on Cam Nelson, I mean, he hits kind of hard. He's got some decent grappling, but you can't put into context really how good his skills are, because these guys, like, they don't even have a 500 record. The organization is something I've never heard of in my life, you know. And when I was just, doing some wiki capping before watching these fights, the guy that he beat last time out, this dude had fought at like 135 and 145. He was 38 years old fighting at 170, but in the past he had fought Vince Morales, Juan Diaz, like small guys, And so I just think Cam Nelson is not seen anyone UFC caliber at all, super untested, and it feels like they're flying him here to get Ming Ding a win at home. I think the volume and pressure is, favors Ming Ding by a lot. The power side of Ming Ding, I think the durability, the way he just gets in your face, able to eat shots and move forward. I would not be, shocked in the slightest if Ming Ding got the TKO, but I think with the volume and pressure, he's got a ton of decision equity as well. So I don't think there's much submission equity on each side here. I think this fight plays out on the feet for the most part. I like Ming Ding. I think he's a pretty solid piece this week.
I don't hate it at all, especially the placement on the card. It does seem like they're trying to get the ball rolling for the Chinese fighters right off the top. And I'm talking about this one because we are now moving into the section of quick picks, where I tend to agree that this is kind of a setup fight for Ming Ding, although I'm not sure how many fights at 170 pounds he is going to win in the future after this one. I tend to agree more so on the opening line, where I do think it's a little bit of a toss-up, but I slightly favor Ming Ding. As this line climbs and climbs, I'll be laying off of it for sure, but I do expect Ming Ding to start the night off hot for the Chinese fighters.
Yeah, Ming Ding side for me as well. I think it comes to a screeching halt there, because I think your parlay piece and Julia Pilastre comes through. They call her the psycho for a reason. This girl builds in the fights. Round 3 is like her best round, and I think the exact opposite for old girl who slows down. And yeah, I like Julia Pilastre.
I don't know about your timeline, but a lot of promotion for Julia Pilastre this week, in my opinion, as well. And I think that's all good signs as far as, her getting her hand raised on Saturday. So yeah, give me Julia Pilastre. Lawrence Liu versus Hector Santiago. I think Lawrence Liu gets the win here. He's a little bit younger fighter, a little bit taller fighter, longer fighter. he should get the win here, but not a lot of conviction with me saying that.
Yeah, Lawrence Liu, I don't think he wins a ton of UFC fights, but when they're matched up like this, I honestly think Tulane Rainbow, despite being like 19 or 20, with probably a tougher fight than this one's going to be. I think Lawrence is a little bit better striker and has the grappling to fall back onto, comes from a good camp, young, improving at a good rate. Yeah, I like the Liu side. Jack Jenkins, Sean Woodson, your fight of the night. I honestly feel the exact same way about it. The calf kicks, the durability, the decision equity for Woodson, and yeah, dude, Jack Jenkins finish only at plus 100 is a play you'll find myself on as well.
So I'll be on the Jack Jenkins side as well. I'm hoping that he gets it done early, like first or second round, because I think if he doesn't, we could be in for a little tight for the third round. I do think that there's an opportunity for Sean Woodson to pick up the pace, and him taking off a little over a year since his loss against Dan Ige. I think that that's probably a good look for him. So we'll see how he reacts to it with a hot starter like Jack Jenkins.
Yeah, I don't know if Sean Woodson's ever missed weight, but you got to think that that's a tough weight cut, and that's a lot of travel time and shit to make up too.
34 years old too. If there was ever a time where it's going to be harder than ever, it's now,
right
after he's kind of past his prime. So yeah, a lot of things. I don't know. It's a really good fight. I love the angle that we're both kind of liking here. Moving down to the bantamweight division, Long Zhao taking on Francesco Nuzzi. I like Long Zhao here. He goes to the wheelhouse. He knows what he does well. He's a slight favorite, and I think that there was a potential that he could have been a best bet spot for me. I just couldn't really get to it. I think it's a reasonable price tag, and there's still some meat on the bone, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I bet this guy against Chang Ho Lee in his debut. He probably, in my eyes, should have won that fight. And then in the Cody Garbrandt, he should have won that fight as well, minus the 2-point deductions. So it's like it's super hard to lay chalk on him when he's, when that's happened to me twice. But part of me feels like he's a really good bet on Saturday too. Just a way better fighter, UFC experience, no travel. I mean, everything kind of points to Long Zhao. There's just some red flags. The volume's a little bit low. Yeah, Long Zhao's easily the side for me that I get to, though. Ray Saruya, Kevin Borjas. Ray Saruya is the other leg to my parlay with the under 2.5 there in the Richie Lang and Kai Asakura fight. And, I think Ray just goes out here, takes him down, and submits him probably in the first round. I think he's way more intentional with his grappling than most people Kevin Borjas' fault, and we'll go to it much earlier than a lot of people Kevin Borjas' fault. So I like
Ray.
Ray.
What did you get on Ray?
Like minus 700, and I think he's like minus 850 now.
Yeah. I agree. Ray Sahura is the pick for me. Don't really have much to add there. Andre Lima versus Namsrai Batbayar. I like Andre Lima. I think that he's a really solid fighter all around and a lot of potential at only 27 years old. Give me him here, although I don't really love the price tag that I'm having to pay for him.
Right. And kind of feel the same way like I do about Long Zhao. If you didn't make an ass out of yourself the last fight, I'd been way more eager to play you here. But I do think he's the clear side too, man. Open up the main card, Bilal Hassan taking on Nelson Rojas. Bilal Hassan, I think, is a flyweight that could compete with the top 15 fighters, some of them, right now. And on the other side is a guy, Nelson Rojas, who is a much harder fight than Bilal Hassan saw on the Contender Series, a guy I think is much more durable. I've just not been that impressed with dude's gas tank when I was watching it. So down the back half of this fight, I feel like Hassan's going to take over. And maybe the finish is live there, but undefeated prospect, his first loss probably comes by decision. It's flyweight, so my gut kind of tells me it's a Hassan decision. Doesn't get that finish like we like.
Yeah, so I'm on the Bilal Hassan side. Not really sure how he gets it done. I love the decision look on undefeated fighters losing their first time. So, and 125 pounds, that's also pretty appealing. So yeah, I don't mind that at all. Moving on to the 205-pound weight class, Levi Rodriguez Jr. taking on C. Liu. They had to find somebody for C. Liu to beat, because if it's not Levi Rodriguez, he's not beating anybody at 205 pounds. Even now, this price tag seems a little wild. Being a 2-1 favorite over anybody is kind of really hard for me to get to. He's unproven. He's not that good. Levi Rodriguez is just not the guy. So I see some people kind of tagging Levi Rodriguez odds wise, and I'm hoping I don't talk myself into it because if I get any type of push, I'll probably lay a unit on Levi Rodriguez just because prove it to me that Silu could even be a UFC caliber fighter in any facet.
If Levi didn't just get mopped on the floor, I think I'd probably be there too. Because if anybody takes Silu down, it's night night. You know, like they're gonna wrap up an arm, some type of submission, something, and go home with it. Silu's ground game is ass, but he does have a lot of kickboxing experience. Got a good calf kick, and so you know if guys aren't willing to take him down to the mat, which I don't feel like Rodriguez is gonna do, I think Silu probably finds a finish on the feet. Alex Perez, Sumu Darji. I do think that Alex Perez is the value side here, but you know when they're making a rebooking, when you stop the fight over a nut shot, now they're making you fly back to China, and you just already don't know if you're going to get the champ Alex Perez one night or the dude who's going to tap to guillotine in 2 seconds. You just never know what Perez you're going to get. So I'm going to be laying off, but at the money line, I like your underdog of the week. I think Perez is the clear money line side.
Yeah, give me Alex Perez here. Sumu Darji, prove me that you've rounded out your game against a higher caliber opponent. Maybe I'll look at you in the future, but as of right now, Alex Perez is the side for me. Kaya Sakura taking on Arichi Lang. I'm a little worried about your under, to be honest with you. I think Arichi could just go to the wheelhouse and keep on trying to take him down, and Kai might not be able to find that kill shot. So this is a Kaya Sakura spot, but it's just hard for me to get behind him right now.
I hate that you say that because I was just about to come out here and say that FanDuel has Kaya Sakura around 1 and 2 down to like -125, -130. And I think that's a really good bet. You ain't got to pick just the KO or anything, but I really like him to find a finish here, and I think it comes pretty early. Jianan taking on Denise Gomez. You know, we talked about this fight, and Jianan is made me money in the past, and I think she's taken a significant step down here. Just that timing's got me a little bit worried. If there's a number that I play her at, Denise Gomez seems like a popular dog this week, so I'll be having my eyes here. Jianan's the side for me.
Yeah, I'm curious what that number is for you.
I'd really like -125, but it's like -140 right now. It's coming my way.
I could get on board with -120 anything, you know? Yeah. I'm with you. I think Yao Yan wins. And like I said on the breakdown, if there's anybody who's going to look world class as above the other, it's going to be Yan here. So yeah, give me her. Umar Nurmagomedov versus Song Yadong. I really hope it's not a 25-minute crotch sniffing fest, but I do think that that's probably how it's going to go. The other opportunity is Umar really knocking up Yadong on the feet a couple of times and then finding a sub, just an opportunistic one when Song's rocked. But outside of that, I think it goes to decision, and I think Umar gets his hand raised.
Yeah, I am with you. I think it's a Umar decision. And probably a boring one, man. I just feel like the kicks on the outside and the top time are probably going to take over as this fight gets down the stretch. So, not too eager about that fight, man. I think there's better fights earlier in the card. I appreciate you guys hanging out with us. That's all the fights for UFC Shanghai. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel. Let us know who your best bet down in the comments is, and we'll be back as always next week for UFC Paris, where we got the debut of my boy Saladin Parnasse taking on Dan Hooker. Man, I'm super excited for this one. As always, thank you again. We'll see you next week.
Peace.